What's up, everybody? Christian James here. Today's video, Christina Freeland and the other dumbass ministers give an economic update today. I'm going to review the video. We're not going to go over the whole thing. We're going to go over her part and anything else that may be substantial. I have not watched it yet. It aired 4 or 5 hours ago. So let's get into it. Let me stop wasting time.
Industrial policy in areas like net zero and semiconductors is closely tied to major Biden administration policy in the form of the Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS Act, and so on. What happens to all the billions that you've put up if a Trump administration comes in and decides to take a different tack or undo the Biden administration's climate and strategic technology policy?
Then I think we'll get even more investment in Canada. Our tax credits are a made in Canada policy, and they are designed to ensure that Canada takes advantage of this generational moment, right? Like, you know very well, you write about this all the time. The transformation that the global economy is going through right now is comparable only to the Industrial Revolution itself. We believe it is absolutely essential that Canada gets its share of the global pie. Actually, we think we should get more than our share of the global pie. And the good news is we have all of the ingredients for...
When she says more than our fair share of the global pie, does she mean immigration? Because that's happening. Look, it would be great if every Canadian could prosper as much as she's implying the country or that we can. It's not going to happen. Especially not under their watch. Look, everybody's success is largely due to everybody. My success is due to me. Your success is due to you. However, the success of everybody is overly marketed by or overly monitored by how well the country's doing. My job, for most people, is not essential. I'm a strength coach. You come to see me when you want to be fit and strong as humanly possible, or you have to rehab from certain things or things of that nature. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm really good at it. The less extra money people have, the less my business does, and that applies to a lot of other businesses. So the better the economy does overall, the better a lot of small to medium businesses do overall, because people have more free money to spend. Simple economics. However, this seems like a setup question. Well, her face was a little odd when it, but it's always odd. What does Trump have to do with this? Like, I liked her answer. Like, well, if that becomes under any administration, I don't give a crap about Trump or not. If under any administration whatsoever, America doesn't want to give us our fair share, or as she said, more, then yeah, we should make Canada. I have a lot of pride in Canada and being Canadian. I have it's hard to see. I can't see me on the screen right now. A maple leaf tattoo right there. I'm very proud to be Canadian. The more things we make here, the more pride I think the country has, the more pride everybody has overall. But these people gotta get the hell out of the way. Look, the people who work in the country, we know what to do. They don't know what to do because they just keep getting in the way. They added 33% or 30% more government employees since they've been in power, and nothing's working better. If you hire another 30% of staff in anything you're doing, things should run smoother because you have 30% more people to use.
For a real industrial renaissance in Canada. We have the critical minerals and metals that the new industry of the world needs. We have clean electricity. Canada's grid is already 85% clean, and those tax credits I spoke about are built to allow us to increase our clean.
If our grid is 85% clean, why are we pressing all these things about the environment? 85% already. There's always room for improvement. But it's not like we have to improve. It's not like we're China and we're just destroying the world and making coal plants every 2 to 3 days. You know what I mean? We do more than our fair share to take care of the environment. How about let us prosper and return? The environment will do better. It's just how things work. The better people do, the better the environment does. The worse people do, the worse the environment does. The worst countries in the world have the poorest people in the world when it comes to pollution. It's simple math. Poor people don't care about what they burn or the environment when they're cold, hungry, and have have needs. Right over here we usually have wants. Wants are not that big of a deal.
Power generation, because we know we're going to need that. We are a country that knows how to manufacture. There are other countries that let go of their industrial base. Canada has never done that. Having industry in Canada is serving us in very good stead. As Francois Philippe just said, and Sean talking about our great universities, we have the most educated people in the OECD. And when you put all of that together, turbocharged by our tax credits, we really believe that this is a moment of really great economic opportunity for Canada. And our job as a government is to be sure that our country is positioned to seize that opportunity. That's what our system of tax credits is doing.
So you say you have a Made in Canada plan. Your EV credits are tied specifically to the IRA.
Those are not tax credits.
Your EV incentives, but still under the Made in Canada plan. Your CCUS credits were adjusted according to 45Q. These things are...
No, look, Murad, I'm not kind of trying to be disputatious. For sure it's the case.
Say confrontational, lady.
We recognize there's competition in the global economy. And we believe that Canada needs to own the podium. And that is why we have put together a plan which is really doing that. And if you talk to international investors, talk to Rio Tinto, talk to BHP, talk to Dow, talk to the car companies, they will all say this is a fantastic moment to be investing in Canada. Our suite of measures is designed to ensure that companies do exactly that. It is built on the foundation of the ITCs. It also includes the Canada Growth Fund and the investments it's making, such as the Contract for Difference that it concluded in December. So we are really going full steam ahead. And if you look at the data, if you look at the deals, I think you already see the investment reaction to those measures we've put in place. And I would be remiss if I didn't say the final piece in that puzzle is our trade deals. Canada is the only G7 country that has a trade deal with every single other G7 country, and we are already benefiting.
We don't have a free trade deal with the UK right now, to my understanding, unless something changed.
Resilience in the wake of COVID, in the wake of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which you are seeing the world's companies and the world's big economies put in place. Canada's reliable. People know it.
Yeah, Brian Platt, Bloomberg.
Hi, Minister Freeland, right here.
Sorry.
Could you update us on where your thinking's at with the digital services tax? We're past the January 1st deadline now. You said you were cautiously optimistic for a deal and talks are ongoing. Is this open-ended, or do you have a new deadline in mind for implementing Canada's DST?
That legislation is in the implementing legislation for the fall economic statement. So we are moving ahead legally with legislation in Canada. At the same time, we are continuing to have really constructive conversations with the U.S.
But that legislation leaves it open to Cabinet to name a date. You kind of set a red line last year saying there needs to be a deal by January 1st or Canada moves ahead. American lawmakers are still threatening potential trade retaliation. Have you backed down from this, or are you still committed to bringing in a DST this year if there's no deal? And is there a new deadline?
We are moving ahead, and that's why it's in the legislation. Obviously, we need legislation as the next step, and that's why the bill is there before the House.
We come to these press conferences and we always hear you say that the housing issue is a supply issue. I'll note that you haven't said that today, and your government's made recent changes with international students. Is that a signal from you and the government that there's a recognition that there needs to be a conversation or issues dealt with the demand side to get house prices back down?
That's a very smart and thoughtful question. No, it is.
She's searching for an answer, folks. When she talks like this, she's always searching for an answer.
Announced last week were really important. And I think they've been recognized as the right thing for Canada to do. And maybe Mark will want to add something in a minute because I'm about to quote him, and he can speak for himself. But what Mark said and what our government believes is the system for international students was being abused. That That was not.
One thing I want to point out here. When she's confident, her hands are here doing this, right? Essentially, she's looking like a 90s R&B singer. You can see right now she's nervous. Like, if you look at her hands are doing this. Like, I know there's the red line on the screen, but her hands, she's fiddling. She's nervous.
International students who we want to welcome to Canada, and we want them to have a good experience here. It is now time for provinces to pull up their socks. I do also want to say our government, and I think the vast majority of Canadians, continue to recognize that Canada's diversity is our strength, that immigrants...
The hell we do. That's not working out so well now, is it? No. China, almost all Chinese. India, pretty much Indian people. You see where I'm going with this? Diversity is not the strength of the world. When you bring as many cultures, civilizations, and everything together, people have a hard time leaving their idiosyncrasies from back home and coming and being part of the melting pot of Canada or America or other nations where people often freely immigrate to, and you can see the culture clashes. Canada's always been a diverse nation, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the speed in which we've been diversifying is not working. And now how do I say this without the quality of the diversity we're letting in, and it's not from where you're from, it's simply the person, is not as good as it used to be. Our immigration system had a rating A, B, C, D, E, F. Maybe stopped at E. If you're an A, you're an engineer, you're a doctor, you're somebody sought after. If you're an E, you're a CSR, customer service rep. There's nothing wrong with that. A, we really need. E, a lot of people can fill. We've just opened it up to the world. Like, Fraser, the guy sitting to her on the screen, would be her right, but actually her left, if I'm not mistaken, has misplaced 1 million people. He doesn't know where they went. He has no idea. You're the foreign minister, whatever. You're the immigration minister, and you have no idea where the people went.
Immigration is a strength for Canada, and the ability to welcome immigrants is a strength for Canada. We need to be sure that we do it properly and that loopholes in the system are not being abused. And when we see those loopholes, that we act to close them. And on housing, we do believe the core objective, and you just heard Sean today talking about more supply measures.
Again, you see the confidence? Look at her hands moving.
That is before the House has more supply measures directed at co-ops. So don't get us wrong, Mackenzie. Our core thing on housing is supply, supply, supply. We now have
8 years too late. 8.
Yeah. We have agreements across the country with municipalities to remove restrictions and make it possible to build more. And we know we have to build more homes faster. There are now more than 500,000 young Canadians who have opened tax-free first home savings accounts. That's like people voting with their feet.
We have tax-free savings accounts. This is just the mortgage one. It's another one.
I want to buy a house. Those are really important, optimistic people. I say they're young because by definition you have to be buying your first home. We want to support them. And so we know we need to build homes that they can buy and have more rental supply for people.
You mentioned the childcare agreements several times today as a positive thing and something that's working well, but we know that there's lots of daycares in provinces that are saying they don't have enough funding and they either have to pull out, or one of them I think is even threatening to have sort of rolling closures. Is your government able or willing to put more money on the table to make this work, or do you expect the provinces to put up more money to make this work?
Yeah, thank you for the question. We are very focused on early learning and childcare. We think this is a policy that checks all the boxes. It is something that helps affordability for families.
The reporter just said daycares are not getting enough funding. 30 seconds later, it checks all the boxes. If it did, she wouldn't have brought it up that you need to supply more money. So she's saying that her end's doing their part and the provinces need to step up, even though it's their brilliant idea.
A lot of families have talked about daycare fees before our program as a second mortgage. It is helping families get through. It is a policy that is supporting the economy. And thanks in part to that policy, Canada has, the highest level ever of prime age women's labor force participation. And those women who are now back in the workforce are, by the way, women who already had a home in Canada. So it is a really important and
What the hell kind of train of thought is this? Over, do you think you can provide more funding for the daycare? We're on to women. We're on to women who own homes. Women who are, what the hell kind of... Yes or no? Politicians always talking circular answers. This is absurd.
side measure. And early learning and childcare is great for kids. It gives them the best start in life. So we are very committed to it and committed to fully implementing it. We put a huge amount of money on the table in the 2021 budget for early learning and childcare, and we went across the country systematically, first with Ahmed Hussein, then with Corinna Gould, and now Jenna Suds has taken the reins, doing deals with every single province. They signed up to the program because it is good for the people of each province and territory in Canada, and it is good for their economy. So, we are glad they signed up. We're going to keep on working hard with them. And the final thing that I will say about early learning and childcare, and this is really based on the experience of Quebec. I should thank the pioneering leaders of Quebec.
Look at the hands again. She's nervous. What the hell do feminists have to do with this?
Started with early learning and childcare in Canada and made it possible. The experience of Quebec is a successful early learning and childcare program. Success begets success. And the better your childcare is, the more available and affordable it is, the more people want to use it. That has been the Quebec experience. That's a good thing, that there is demand for it. It shows the program is working. And it does show, as you suggest, Mia, that we're going to have to continue to work hard with provinces and territories across the country. And my particular focus is on early learning and childcare workers. These are the people, they're mostly women, who shape the lives of our country's children right at the start. It's an incredible...
How will the kids do it nowadays, fellas?
Incredibly hard work. Part of our plan was to include grids for the payment of those early learning and childcare workers, and we are going to be focused on them and ensuring they are well paid, that this is a real career, because don't we want the people who care for our kids to have a great life and see it as a great career?
Report this morning from the Toronto Star talking about how your government potentially wants to rebrand the carbon tax. What does that mean, just changing the name, and how do you think that will protect a policy that's becoming increasingly unpopular among Canadians? Thank you.
Thanks for the question. I think it's important to start with the reality, and that is that the price on pollution returns more money to 8 out of 10 Canadians. And lower income Canadians are in that 8
So
out
what
of
is it,
10
environmental welfare?
category. This is
What?
a policy which is revenue neutral. The money goes right back into the pockets of Canadians. In Ontario, a family of 4 this year is going to be getting close to $1,000 back through the price on pollution. It's also the case that a lot of Canadians don't realize that. That the labels that financial institutions use, if people are getting the money through direct deposit, differ between financial institutions, and people can be mystified. I think that Canadians have the right to know what they're getting from the federal government, and certainly I think that in every single program we need to be thoughtful about that and thoughtful about being sure that Canadians understand what's actually happening.
Rika Walsh.
So she's saying they're going to rebrand because we're dumb and confused on what they're doing, and that 8 out of 10 Canadians are poor, so therefore they're going to get more than they pay. You're referring to people who don't have cars? People who don't pay for heating? What the hell does that mean? But also that 8 out of 10 Canadians are going to benefit from this. What does that say about the economy and the average Canadian? That, like, it's fucking broad.
Good afternoon. I hope you'll entertain us and also take a question from my colleague Mari Wolf after this. This is a question very briefly for Ministers Anand, Champagne, Freeland, and Fraser. All of you. I'm just
Very
opening the
brief.
table.
You said none of
You've
us.
all chimed in anyway, so I'm just opening the floor. You've all been sort of floated as leadership contenders. I'm wondering if you're still considering a leadership bid and if you still think the Prime Minister should lead you to the next election.
Well,
No.
start by saying we just had a great week of cabinet and caucus retreats. The Prime Minister was very clear, as he has been, that he intends to lead our party in the next election. He has my full support, and I am pretty sure you will find my colleagues here feel the same way.
And are you considering a leadership background?
We have a leader. Our
The fuck we
job
do.
right
We have
now,
an
my
idiot at the
job,
helm.
and I
This
think
dude's gonna
it's
steal the
our
fucking shit right off a
collective
waterfall.
job, is to work together as a team, which is something that we do every single day, and to focus on supporting
If this were a
Canadians.
baseball
Like,
team, it'd
these
be
are
0
challenging
and
times.
152.
All of us wake up in the morning thinking about what can we do to answer the challenges Canadians are facing for today and to
Quit.
build a better future
Q-U-I-T.
for tomorrow.
Quit.
That's what we do when we think about when we first wake up. We do it all day long. I dare say some of us wake up in the middle of the night with a few more ideas on how to
Yeah,
do
because
that.
you're terrified
That's
of
our
losing your
focus.
high-paying
You don't
job.
even need to add more to that. You know? Here it is.
Answer the question.
That's the perfect answer.
He's gonna announce right now.
Thank you, but your name hasn't been floated. If you want to add your name to the race, though, we're all yours.
All right, everybody, that's the end of the English questions. Again, a lot of spin, no definitive answers. I like Freeland's one answer about, whatever, who's ever in charge in America. It's building Canada first. I like that. I have a lot of pride in being Canadian. I wish they had as much pride as I do. Anyways, tell me what you think. Tell me what you thought. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me I'm right. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me what the hell you think. Just tell me something. I'm out.